Tonight on Texas News Primetime, arson on South Campus.
Reports come out of UT's extravagant spending on a future player for the university.
You're watching Texas News Primetime.
News made for Longhorns. Good evening and welcome to Texas News Primetime. For Monday, September 19th, I'm Lucy Lopez.
And I'm Kevin Bosker. Thank you for joining us tonight. The Austin Fire Department is investigating a series of intentional lit fires on South Congress Avenue that occurred in the early hours of Sunday morning. Firefighters responded to fires at a local bar, an abandoned auto repair shop, and several dumpster and grass fires around 4 a.m. A suspect has been arrested in connection to these fires, and a GoFundMe page has been started for the bar employees and their families. High school football player Arch Manning committed to Texas football in June.
High school football player Arch Manning committed to Texas football in June. An article was leaked that an inordinate amount of funds were used while in the recruiting process. The school spent $280,000 in 48 hours for Arch Manning, who is the nephew of NFL players Eli and Peyton Manning. And 8 other potential recruits have also been reported to be in this deal. The purchases allegedly included airfare, cars, 5-star hotels, custom cakes, an ice sculpture, a lake cruise, and more. These efforts were not in vain, however, since Arch Manning did commit 3 days later.
Catastrophe has struck Taiwan as a 6.8 magnitude earthquake hit the southeastern part of the country this past Sunday. Taiwan's fire department reported the earthquake injured hundreds. The epicenter of the earthquake was located in Taitung County, having a depth of 4.3 miles. In the grand scheme, the earthquake was not as bad as previous earthquakes that have occurred in the same region. Back in 2016, an earthquake killed 100 people, and in 1999, 2,000 people died from a 7.3 magnitude earthquake. This is still a developing story, and we'll keep you updated with the details in Taiwan.
Last Friday, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in favor of a new Texas law that seeks to limit the moderation of content on social media. In response to the favorable ruling, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton tweeted, "I just secured a massive victory for the Constitution and free speech in the Fed court. Hashtag Big Tech cannot censor the political voices of any Texan." The Computer and Communications Industry Association, who filed the lawsuit against the Texas law, said in response to Friday's ruling, "We strongly disagree with the court's decision. Forcing private companies to give equal treatment to all viewpoints on the platforms places foreign propaganda and extremism on equal footing with decent internet users and places Americans at risk. The future of content moderation and speech online could soon be determined by the Supreme Court as an appeal seems likely."
The University of Texas has officially added beach volleyball as its 21st NCAA sport. Vice President and Athletics Director Chris Del Conte said, "Year in and year out, we have one of the premier volleyball programs in the country. Adding beach volleyball will help us continue to strengthen that." The Longhorns historically have been one of the best indoor volleyball programs. In the past 16 seasons, UT volleyball team has gone to win 16 straight NCAA Sweet 16s, 15 NCCA regional finals, 10 Final Fours, and 5 national championship matches. Adding on top of that, the Longhorns won the NCAA title in 2012. UT will start its first season of beach volleyball in the spring of 2023 under a limited schedule before becoming a fully sanctioned intercollegiate sport for the 2024 season.
A Native American tribe located in Central Texas is pushing the university for their property. 2 years ago, Jay Hartzell issued a statement promising to do just that, but the promise has yet to be fulfilled. Reporters Sophia Kurtz and Angela Santos interviewed protesters Thursday to tell us more. Let's take a look.
We're here to support the initiative to get the remains from the tea back.
Honestly, I almost cried at some point. I think it was the drums, and I think it's very similar to my culture, so maybe that's why. But I also think like it's also like an energy thing as he was going on when he was speaking. So yeah, I was kind of emotional.
Really appreciative of everyone coming out, and I just hope that everyone keeps, fighting this fight with us, because we don't want it to just be a one-time thing and then it gets forgotten about again. We really want to, support all of the indigenous people. It's not just about, getting these particular remains, like they were saying. It's about the entire picture.
Breaking news. A Texas sheriff opens a criminal investigation into Martha's Vineyards migrant trips. The investigation will focus on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' decision to send nearly 50 migrants from Texas up to Martha's Vineyards. The officer claims that the migrants were lured under false pretenses. According to figures from the Texas Division of Emergency Management, reports show that Texas have spent more than $12 million busing migrants to New York City and to Washington, D.C. Governor Greg Abbott's office released a statement saying, quote, "The busing mission is provided for much needed relief to overwhelmed border communities. Operation Lone Star continues to fill the dangerous gaps left by the Biden administration refusal to secure the border," end quote. However, with thousands of migrants being relocated up north, immigrants, nonprofits, and other volunteer groups are left overwhelmed. As a result, with no other family or resources, many migrants are left homeless and forced to live on the streets of cities they do not know.
Finance professor Richard Lowry filed a class action lawsuit against Texas and the university earlier this week. Lowry states the university's new Accountability, Climate, Equity, and Scholarship Faculty Fellow program violates federal law. It said that it discriminates against white and Asian applicants. A&M officials have stated the policy was put in place to recruit members of underrepresented groups into their faculty.
Originally intended to be released on September 1st, the maternity mortality data will now be released after the 88th legislation session that will be taking place in January 2023. This is the fourth report since 2014, and it is the first time the report has ever been delayed. Nicole Collier, the chair of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, calls the delay unacceptable. Quote, "Texas has one of the highest maternity mortality rates in the country. It is unacceptable for this data to be delayed until the next summer." Chris Van DeSantis, a spokesman for the Department of State Health Services, said that the delay has nothing to do with the elections. However, several local politicians attribute the delay to upcoming midterms. The report would be the state's first major update count of pregnancy-related deaths in nearly a decade.
A swimmer went missing in Lady Bird Lake Saturday evening. Austin Travis County EMS and the Austin Fire Department responded to search for the missing swimmer. After searching for a few hours, the search effort transitioned to a recovery. The search continued, but teams were unable to locate the missing swimmer.
A district judge in Austin recently ruled that Texas cannot pursue child abuse investigations of parents who provided their transgender children with gender-affirming care if the family of the children are members of the organization PFLAG. PFLAG is a large nonprofit that has over 400 chapters across the country. PFLAG provides confidential peer support, education, advocacy, and community to the LGBTQ+ peoples and their families. The group is also one of the plaintiffs who are challenging Governor Abbott's order that medical treatment of transgender minors such as hormonal therapy and puberty blockers should be investigated as child abuse. According to the American Psychiatric Association, gender-affirming care is clinically appropriate for children or adults who suffer from gender dysmorphia and can improve their mental health. Many parents rely on this care to help their children and even save lives. This judge ruling can help lead the fight to decriminalize the care for transgender individuals.
The Austin Animal Center is desperately searching for homes for dogs. living in pop-up crates due to overcapacity. The shelter currently houses over 700 animals and has been a no-kill shelter since 2011. They declared this past week that they will be restricting intake to an emergency-only basis. Their doors are currently open for adoption and reclaimed Monday through Saturday. But tune in next week for our original reporting on Austin's overcrowded animal shelter crisis.
Business update coming out after the break. Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Just a little correction on one of our previous stories. Professor Lowry was actually suing A&M, not UT. But joining us today for our business story is our business correspondent, Julia Mia. How are you doing today, Julia?
I'm doing good.
All right, can you tell me a little bit of what's going on in the world of business?
No problem. Nissan is now recalling more than 200,000 of their pickup trucks due to an increased risk that the vehicles could roll away while in park. Nissan Frontiers and Titans from 2020 to 2023 are affected models, and owners will be receiving a letter from Nissan on November 1st. Owners are being advised to use their parking brake every time they park. It's that time of year again where tech giants start to release all their gadgets. Last week, Apple had an entire line of new tech that included new iPhones, Apple Watches, and AirPods. However, it wasn't the hardware that drew the most attention. It was the two new software features, car crash alerts and emergency satellite services. Car crash alerts will activate and call emergency services if one ever finds themselves in a car accident. On the other hand, emergency satellite services is a feature that will help you contact satellites when cellular service is not available. For you to have access to the emergency services feature, you must have iOS 16 software downloaded on an iPhone 14. The crash car feature alerts features will require iPhone 16s across much more devices such as the iPhone 14, Apple Watch Series, Apple Watch Series, and Apple Watch Ultra with the latest version of Watch OS.
Thank you so much, Julia Mia, for coming on. Next up, we have, for our STEM segment, we have the lovely Sophia Kerr to tell me about the No Worries STEM news. Hello, Sophia. How are you doing today?
I'm so tired. How are you, Kevin?
You know, the same old, same old.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on in STEM.
Well, following in STEM, so basically, researchers at UT have found, following the release of August's inflation report this past Tuesday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped about 1,200 points, or about 4%. The NASDAQ Composite also fell about 5%. The drop in the Dow is the worst decrease since 2020. This is due to an increase in inflation by a 0.1%. Many on Wall Street are under the assumption that the Fed would increase its short-term rate by 0.75 percentage points within the next week. The hope is that this action would lead to the rate falling back to normal levels. And in STEM, more STEM, researchers at UT have discovered a large family of the enzyme reverse transcriptases, which have the unique ability to repair DNA damage, including double-strand breakage. This discovery is particularly crucial because it could potentially be applied to chemotherapy drugs to protect DNA strands. Some chemotherapy treatments involve breaking the DNA of cancerous cells in humans. However, cancers can develop a resistance to chemotherapy by adopting the characteristic of healthy human cells that naturally have self-protecting properties. Research lead Alan Lambowitz believes that these enzymes could be applied to repair damaged human DNA strands.
That's fascinating stuff, Sophia. Coming up after the break, we will have Joseph Duffy talking all about the past game that happened this weekend. Welcome to our special segment of Press Box on Primetime. Joining us on the set is Joseph Duffy. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. You got to tell me all about what happened this past weekend with UTSA. Take it away, man.
Well, it was a raucous crowd in Darrell K. Roy Memorial Stadium, and so we go to DKR in Austin. We see how UTA struck first in the first quarter, After that, Roshan Johnson will get the play-action pass here and score from the corner. Again, the Longhorns are on the board in the second quarter. The impending drive, Brendan Brady takes the handoff into the end zone. Puts UTSA back in front. It is now 10-7. Now UTSA will get tricky here as they will go for the onside. That gets recovered by the Roadrunners. A risky move that paid off. In that same drive, the Roadrunners will run a double pass here. Right here from Brady all the way to Zachary Franklin in the end zone. It will be snagged for another touchdown, putting the Roadrunners up 2 scores. The Longhorns, however, seem to now have been phased as Roshan Johnson in the Wildcat carries it outside and hurdles the defender right here to set up 1st and goal for the Longhorns. And then following that, once again, Bijan Robinson would find pay dirt for the Horns and close the gap to a 1-score game with 5:22 to go in the first half. The Longhorns sure needed that drive. They make a defensive drive right after and get the pigskin one last time before half. And Hudson Card would pass right here to Bijan Robinson, who would prove beneficial with his nifty cuts, putting the Horns in Roadrunner territory. The Horns don't get in the end zone, but Bert Auburn ties the game for Texas at 17 and into halftime with a 44-yard field goal attempt. Texas would get a defensive stop at the top of the half, and on the first Longhorn possession in the third quarter, Bijan Robinson would find space and take it the distance for a 70-yard touchdown to put the Horns back in front, their first lead since the second quarter. The Roadrunners would remain stingy, however, but this Harris pass would be picked by defensive back Jade Barron. Pass too high, and he would take it to the distance for the house call. Longhorns go up 2 scores for the first time this game. With the defense continuing to make stops, Texas would continue to tack it on with Robinson once again finding room, and they would not catch him. 41-yard touchdown for Bijan. Robinson would end up with 183 rush yards and 3 touchdowns on the day, and Coach Sark told us that he wanted his team not to be fragmented as they would be faced with adversity, and they proved beneficial once again as they won 41-20.
I got to tell you, that game was just very, very hard for me to watch in the first half. I was like, we're really going to lose to UTSA.
They gave me a heart attack as well.
I mean, their quarterback, Mr. Houdini over there, skipping out of the pocket, just getting out of there, like, my goodness. But all right, we got to talk about these crazy comebacks. Tell me, what was the comeback from last week that you thought was just so, like, on your mind?
Well, I got to go with the Miami Dolphins here, and I got to start with how they were down 3 scores after the third quarter, and Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle proved to go
he did really
efficiently.
Well. He did really well.
And they eventually were down 3 points, and Tua Tagovailoa made a game-winning drive to the win for Jalen Waddle to win the game, and Mike McDaniel is 2-0 with the Dolphins in his first year as head coach.
You know, I got to say something. My fantasy team was bailed out by Tyree freaking Hill. Like, he was insane.
Bailed mine out, too. 42 points.
42 points. Like, I was down by, I would say, like, I was projected to be, like, 115 points, but I ended up coming and winning by 160 points. But at the end of the day, that's all the time we have for today. I can't talk about fantasy. I can talk about fantasy forever. But thank you so much for coming along, Mr. Joseph Duffy. If you guys want to catch College Crossfire or Press Box, it's right after Texas News Primetime. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. And catch us after entertainment.
Good luck, babe. You too. Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Coming on today's show, we have Madeline Lambert. How are you, Madeline? Been a long time.
I know. It's awesome to be back. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
We're so happy to have you.
Let's get into our entertainment segment because a lot has happened these past 2 weeks. So let's start off with the new trailer for The Little Mermaid. Have you seen it?
Yes. Oh, adored it.
Literally so cute. Last week, Disney released the trailer for The Little Mermaid featuring Hailey Bailey as Ariel. There were so many different reactions to it, but I think the cutest ones were found on TikTok of little girls catching their reactions to the to the trailer, and you could just tell little girls felt so heartwarming when they said, "She looks like me," and it's like,
yes.
I cannot wait to see this movie because this will be Hailey Bailey's first role in a major movie, so
Yeah.
I'm so excited for her. This will be a great movie.
It's definitely the talk of the town, especially in the world of Disney.
Exactly.
But I think that you wanted to share something about the Emmys as well, right? I didn't get to watch them, but What can you tell me about him?
Let's talk about the Emmys, please, because let's talk about the Queen Zendaya. She made history by winning 2 awards for Euphoria while winning Outstanding Lead Actress in Drama Series. Lizzo's Big Girls won the Outstanding Competition Program and gave an emotional shout out to her girls as well. That part of the Emmys was so sweet, and I was so glad I was able to watch that. But let's talk about one of the major highlights. Literally nothing outshined Cheryl Lee Ralph, who became the 2nd Black woman to ever win the award for supporting actress in a comedy series. Upon accepting the award, Lee sang Endangered Species by Diane Reeves. Backstage, she also said, "I've been singing that song for years because I think of myself as an artist, but I don't sing any victim song. I'm a woman. I'm an artist, and I know where my voice belongs." She also shouted out her family and her fans, and overall her fans were just captivated by how emotional her speech was, and everyone was talking about it all over Twitter, all over social media. It was such a great speech, a very major respect to Miss Diane.
No, definitely. It's definitely the talk of the town, how interesting things have gotten over the past few years, but more than anything, how powerful and resilient things are going on. And just, it's for real when social media wants to just take it into their own hands and decides to talk about it 24/7. So congrats to all the fabulous women who won Emmy Awards, but specifically Zendaya and Shirley Lee Twain.
Exactly. So that was definitely one of the major highlights from last weekend. And coming up next week, film critic and historian Leonard Martin and major actors Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro are coming here to UT. You heard that right. On Saturday, September 24th, the celebration of film will take place at the Harry Ransom Center to honor De Niro. There will be an exciting event, so be sure to secure your tickets online.
Well, thank you so much, Madeline. It was such a pleasure having you. And, who else to talk entertainment than the Madeline Lambert, right?
Who else? Thank you, Lucy. I love being here.
Thank you so much. Well, that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter, and be sure to check out our new Instagram profile at TSTV News. For Monday, September 19th, I'm Lucy Lopez. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.